Good evening and welcome back to Candlelit Chronicles. What did the world look like before there were gods to watch over it? Before there was even a sky to hold the stars? Before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And I'd love to know where you're listening from tonight. Share your location and your local time in the comments below. There's something comforting in imagining this story unfolding softly across different corners of the world. Now, dim the lights, get comfortable, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Settle in. Let your eyes rest. Tonight, we drift back before memory itself to the very first hours of everything, when the only thing that existed was a vast, formless quiet. No sun had yet risen because there was no sky for it to rise into. No tide had yet moved because there was no shore to greet it. No bird had yet sung because there was no branch for it to rest upon. There was only stillness, patient and endless, waiting in no particular hurry for something, anything to begin. The ancient Greeks had a word for this stillness: chaos. Not the chaos of noise and disorder we imagine today, but something softer, something stranger. A yawning, open space, without shape, without light, without up or down, without even the simple comfort of a single direction to call forward. Imagine, if you will, floating gently in that emptiness. No sound, no weight, no edges to bump against, only the faintest sense, somewhere deep within the dark, that something very slowly was beginning to stir. From this quiet nothing, the first shapes slowly gathered, the way mist gathers over still water just before dawn, soft and unhurried, in no rush at all to take their final form. Gaia rose first, the wide, generous earth, spreading herself out like a great dark blanket, patient and unhurried, her edges fading softly into the dark from which she came, as though she herself was still deciding just how far she wished to stretch. Somewhere far beneath her, Tartarus settled quietly into being, a deep, hushed hollow beneath all things, far below where any light could ever hope to reach, a place of permanent twilight and gentle silence, undisturbed by anything at all. And from the still, waiting air drifted Eros, the gentle pull that draws one thing toward another. The soft, quiet force of attraction that would, in time, bring the whole world into being, piece by patient piece, the way a single thread slowly, slowly becomes a tapestry. Gaia, lying beneath the empty dark, looked upward, if such a word even meant anything yet, and dreamed of something to cover her, something vast and star-flecked to keep her gentle company through the long, quiet nights ahead. And so, softly, without struggle or strain, she brought forth Uranus, the sky, to stretch himself above her like a great dome, scattering the very first stars across his back as he settled slowly into place, each one a tiny, glimmering promise of the light still to come, scattered the way a hand might scatter seeds across a dark and waiting field. Picture it now, if it helps you rest, the earth lying calm and dark below, and above her, for the very first time, a sky filled with soft, scattered light. No sound but the gentle hush of creation settling, unhurried, into its proper place. This was the world's first true quiet, the first held breath before a story begins, and from this quiet, in time, the next chapter of our tale would slowly, gently come to life, the way a single candle is lit in a dark and waiting room. For a long while, nothing more happened than this. Earth below, sky above, and a quiet, settled distance between them, the way two old friends might simply sit together in comfortable silence, with nothing that needs saying. Mountains had not yet risen from Gaia's wide back, and the first seas had not yet found anywhere to gather, so the whole of her surface lay smooth and dark and patient, waiting, the way a blank page waits, unhurried, for the first word to be written upon it. Uranus, for his part, simply rested above her, his new stars settling slowly into their places one by one, finding, over what must have felt like an eternity of soft and careful adjustment, the exact positions they would hold for all the ages still to come. Let us move now, gently, into the age of the Titans, a time when the world was still young, still soft at the edges, still being shaped by enormous, patient, careful hands. Gaia and Uranus, earth and sky, lay together through long, slow ages, and from their quiet union came 12 towering children, beings the Greeks would come to call Titans. There was Cronus, careful and watchful, who would one day come to rule them all with a steady, measured hand. There was Rhea, gentle and nurturing, soft-spoken even among giants, who would become the mother of gods still waiting to be born. There was Oceanus, who became the great encircling river, holding the whole world in his quiet embrace, and his sister Tethys, who filled the springs and streams with cool, clear water, humming softly as it moved over smooth stone. There was Hyperion, who carried a warm and steady light within him, and Thea, his quiet counterpart, who would, in time, give the sky its sun and its moon, two gentle lamps to take turns watching over the slowly turning world. There was Themis, who would one day whisper the quiet, careful laws of fairness into the world, and Mnemosyne, who held within her the very gift of memory, the soft thread that would one day let stories like this one be remembered and gently retold, night after night, fire after fire, for longer than anyone could count. It is a strange and gentle thing to imagine, an entire family of giants lying beneath a young and starlit sky, slowly learning what it meant simply to exist, to breathe, to watch the light change overhead, hour by unhurried hour. But not every child born to Gaia and Uranus felt entirely welcome beneath that wide and watching sky. Uranus, the old stories tell us, grew quietly uneasy as his children grew taller and stronger around him. He looked at his vast and powerful sons and daughters and felt a small, persistent flicker of fear rather than pride. Afraid, in some private corner of himself, that one day they might rise to take his place beneath the stars he had only just finished scattering. And so, gently but firmly in these old tellings, he pushed them back down into the deep, soft hollow of Gaia, the earth herself, keeping them hidden away from the open sky they had only just begun, with such wonder, to know. Gaia, who had carried and loved each of them through that long, slow waiting, felt this ache settle deep within her, the way cold settles into stone overnight. A mother's quiet sorrow, the old poets remind us, can move even the foundations of the world itself. And so, gently, without anger in the telling, she turned to her children and asked, softly, for their help in setting things right again. It was Cronus, the watchful one, who answered her call. With a tool Gaia herself had quietly provided, shaped patiently from the earth's own stone, he gently but decisively separated sky from earth, lifting Uranus up and away, giving the Titans, at last, room to breathe beneath a sky finally their own to share, wide open and endless above them. From this moment, a new age quietly began. The age in which the Titans themselves would govern the young and slowly growing world below. Cronus took his place at the center of it all, with Rhea settled gently beside him, and for a long, long while, the world rested easily in their careful keeping, mountains settling into their final shapes, oceans finding their patient shores, the first soft light of dawn slowly learning how to rise and how to fall across a sky now finally its own, turning like a great slow wheel of stars. Let us drift further still, into the age when the Titans' long and gentle rule began quietly to change. Cronus and Rhea, ruling together over that early, soft-edged world, in time had children of their own. Small beings who would one day be known across the ages as the Olympian gods. But Cronus, like his father before him, carried within him a quiet, persistent fear. A worry that one of his own children might someday rise to take his place, just as he himself had once risen gently against his. And so, in the old and careful way these stories are still told to children even now, by candlelight, by firelight, just like this one, Cronus kept each newborn child close, swallowing them, the myths gently say, so that none could ever grow tall enough to challenge him. One by one, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon came softly into the world, and one by one, and this part of the story is told without fear in the telling, only quiet sorrow, they were kept hidden away within their father, waiting in the dark for a light that had not yet come. Rhea's heart ached a little more with each child she lost in this gentle, sorrowful way. And so, when her sixth child was born, a small, fierce, bright-eyed infant named Zeus, she made a quiet and careful decision of her own. She carried him gently away to a hidden island, to a soft cave on Crete, where the low hum of bees and the rustle of leaves kept him safe and unseen through the long nights, and in his father's waiting hands she placed a stone wrapped gently in soft cloth instead, so like a sleeping child that no one thought to question it. Zeus grew there, far from his father's reach, cradled by the quiet island air, learning, slowly and patiently, season by season, the gentle shape of his own growing strength. And when the time finally felt right, he returned, not with anger, the old stories gently remind us, but with calm and steady purpose, to gently free his brothers and sisters from where they had so long been kept waiting in the dark. One by one, they returned softly to the light, Hestia, keeper of the hearth's warm and steady glow, the very first soft flame in every home that would ever be built. Demeter, who would one day teach the patient earth to grow gold fields of grain, swaying gently under a summer wind. Hera, who would become queen beside Zeus himself, steady and watchful, her presence as calm and certain as the turning of the seasons she would come to oversee. Hades, quiet and unshaken, who would come to watch over the calm realm of the dead with gentle dignity, neither hurried nor harsh in his keeping. And Poseidon, restless and deep-voiced as the great sea he would one day come to call his own, already humming faintly with the sound of distant waves. Together, these new gods, joined by other quiet allies drawn gently to their cause, faced their father's long age, not, this telling reminds us, in fury or in battle cry, but as the slow and necessary turning of one season into the next, the way autumn does not fight against winter, but simply, softly, makes room for it. The old Titans, weary now from their long and patient rule, in time stepped softly back, making room, the way an old and weathered tree makes room for the young sapling growing patiently beside it, content to let the light reach someone new for a while. And so, the long age of the Titans softened gently, almost imperceptibly, into the age of the Olympians, a new and quiet chapter for a world that had already lived through so very much, and would, in time, live through so much more. Let us rest here a while, picturing the slow rise of a mountain that would become the gentle god's true and lasting home, Mount Olympus. High above the world, its peak wrapped softly in cloud and quiet golden light, Olympus became the place where Zeus and his brothers and sisters made their home together. Imagine it now, if it helps you drift a little further. White stone halls warmed by soft golden light, gentle winds moving slowly through open colonnades, no storms ever reaching that high, only a permanent, settled calm, the kind of quiet you might feel in a garden just after rain, when even the leaves seem to be resting. Zeus, who had freed his siblings and welcomed allies to his gentle cause, took his place as the one who held the sky and its distant thunder, not as a tyrant, the old stories gently insist, but as a steady, calm center for the gods gathered around him, the way a hearth becomes the calm center of a home. Beside him, in time, came Hera, who would watch over marriage and the soft, quiet bonds that hold families together through long years, through long winters, through all the slow seasons of a life. The world below slowly settled too, the way a held breath finally, gratefully releases. Rivers learned their patient courses, curving gently around hills that had only just finished deciding their own shapes. Mountains found their final, gentle forms, soft with new grass and quiet pine. Forests grew thick and green and full of soft birdsong, and somewhere, in the hush of a new morning, the first mortal beings began quietly to stir, small, curious, and new, looking up at that distant mountain in the clouds with wonder rather than fear, the way a child looks up at the first stars they have ever truly noticed. The gods, watching from their high and peaceful home, began to take on the gentle roles the growing world seemed to need of them. Each one finding their place, the way a candle slowly finds its glow, the way a river finds at last the sea. Olympus itself became less a fortress and more a kind of vast, quiet household. Halls for soft feasting, gardens for slow walking, quiet places to simply sit in warm golden light and watch the world turn gently beneath them, season after unhurried season. It is a peaceful image to hold on to as you drift further towards sleep. A mountain wrapped in soft cloud, gods settling gently into their places, and below them, a young world just beginning to flourish. If you were to walk those halls yourself, in this gentle telling, you might pass quiet rooms with floors of pale marble, cool beneath bare feet, and tall windows open to the soft mountain air, letting in the faint scent of laurel and wild thyme from somewhere far below. Long tables stood ready for evening gatherings, though no feast in this telling is ever loud or hurried, only warm, unhurried company beneath a ceiling painted softly with clouds. Somewhere, always, a low fire burned in some quiet hearth, tended without fuss, simply because a home, even a divine one, feels more complete with a little warmth flickering somewhere nearby. Now let us walk slowly through that mountain home and meet a few of the gentle gods who would come to shape the world below. Poseidon, deep-voiced and restless, took to the sea as his great and endless domain. Picture him moving quietly along some moonlit shoreline, calm water lapping softly at his feet. For though the myths often speak of his power over storms, in this gentler telling, we picture him most often at rest, watching the tide move slowly in and out beneath a quiet, star-filled sky, content, for now, to simply listen to the waves. Hades, steady and unshaken, took on the hushed realm beneath the earth, where the spirits of the dead found their final rest. Not a place of torment in this gentle telling, but a dim and orderly hall, calm and unhurried, lit by some soft, unseen glow, where Hades sat patiently, neither cruel nor cold, simply steady, a quiet keeper for a quiet place that needed someone gentle to watch over it. Demeter walked the fields above, and wherever her soft feet touched the soil, golden grain began slowly to rise, swaying gently in a wind only she seemed able to call. She taught the world the gentle rhythm of the seasons, planting and growing, resting and waiting, the soft turning of one year into the next, patient as breath, patient as sleep itself. Athena, born fully formed from the careful mind of Zeus himself, carried quiet wisdom rather than fury into the world. She is often pictured with a small, watchful owl resting on her shoulder, listening, thinking carefully before ever choosing to act, a calm and steady presence among the livelier gods around her, never raising her voice when a quiet word would do. Apollo brought music and gentle golden light, plucking soft notes from a lyre that seemed to make even the wind pause and listen. His twin sister Artemis moved quietly through moonlit forests, watching over wild and sleeping creatures with a soft, careful, patient eye, content to walk unseen among the trees. Hephaestus, quiet and steady-handed, kept a gentle forge glowing in some hidden corner beneath the mountain, shaping soft metal into tools and ornaments with slow, careful patience, never hurried, never rushed, each small object a quiet act of devotion. Hermes moved easily between worlds, light-footed and quick, but even he, in this gentle telling, paused often to rest beneath shady trees and watch the slow clouds drift lazily by overhead. And Aphrodite, who the old stories say rose gently from soft sea foam, carried with her the quiet pull of love and tenderness, the very same soft force, in many ways, as that early whisper of Eros from the very beginning of our story tonight, still humming softly beneath everything that had since come to be. There were others, too, gathered quietly within those white stone halls. Ares, restless and quick-tempered in louder tellings, but pictured here simply pacing some quiet courtyard at dusk, more weary than fierce, glad of the calm around him. Dionysus, who would come, much later, to teach mortals the slow art of the harvest feast, of grapes turning sweet and heavy on the vine, of gathering together at day's end to share what the earth had given. Even among gods, it seems, there was room for rest, for quiet company, for evenings spent simply watching the light fade gently over the mountain's edge. Each of these gods, in this gentle telling, found their place not through conflict, but through quiet purpose, each one a soft thread woven carefully into the wider, warming fabric of the world. Let us pause here a moment longer and turn our attention gently down toward the mortals who had begun, so quietly, to fill the valleys below. Among the Titans who had stepped back from ruling, there was one named Prometheus, thoughtful and kind, who felt a particular fondness for these small, curious new beings. He watched them shivering through cold nights, fumbling in the dark without any soft light to guide their hands, and something in him, gentle and stubborn, wished for better for them. The old stories tell, softly, of how Prometheus carried a small flame down from the heights of Olympus, cupped carefully in his hands, the way you might carry a single candle through a sleeping house, careful not to let the draught put it out. And he gave this flame, gently, to the waiting mortals below. Imagine, if it helps you drift further, that first small fire flickering in the dark, mortal faces gathered close around it, warmed for the very first time. Their shadows dancing soft and slow against cave walls, against the sides of simple huts, against the quiet night itself. With this gift came warmth for cold evenings, light for long nights, and the soft beginning of all the small comforts that would, in time, come to fill mortal lives. Cooked food, warm hearths, candles not unlike the very ones flickering near you now as you listen. Zeus, the stories say, was not entirely pleased by this quiet act of generosity, feeling perhaps that fire belonged to the gods alone. But even in the older, sterner tellings, this is a story remembered less for punishment than for kindness, for the simple, patient gift of light passed gently from divine hands into mortal ones. A gift that still flickers, in one form or another, in every quiet room where someone gathers close to something warm. And so, the world below grew a little brighter, a little gentler, a little more like the world you know now, with its soft lamps and quiet candles, and its long, easy nights spent resting beside a warm and steady glow. Mortals, the old stories tell us, learned quickly how to tend this gift with care, feeding it slowly with dry wood and dry leaves, shielding it from the wind with cupped hands or careful stones, passing a single flame from one hearth to another so that no household ever needed to sit too long in the dark. Children in those early days are said to have gathered close around these small fires each evening, listening to the very first stories ever told aloud, stories of earth and sky, of titans and patient gods, not so very different from the one being told to you right now. Let us drift now toward the final, quiet hours of this story, picturing the world as it finally, peacefully settled into order. With the old Titans at rest and the Olympians gently established in their high and cloud-wrapped home, and now mortals warmed by their own small, borrowed flame, the world below began to take on a calm and steady rhythm of its own. The seasons turned, taught patiently by Demeter's careful hand. The tides rose and fell, watched quietly by Poseidon from some moonlit shore. The stars, first scattered by Uranus so very long ago, continued their slow, familiar turning across the night sky, watched now by mortal eyes as well as divine ones, from windows, from doorways, from beds not unlike your own. Mortals built their first quiet homes in the valleys beneath the mountain, looking up sometimes at Olympus with soft wonder, telling stories of the gods who lived among the clouds, and of the kind Titan who had once carried fire down to warm them. These stories, passed gently from one voice to another, from parent to child, by firelight, by starlight, are the very same stories you are listening to now, carried softly across thousands of years, gently, patiently, to reach you here, tonight, in whatever quiet room you are resting in. The old Titans, no longer ruling, found their own quiet kind of rest. Some, the gentler myths remind us, simply withdrew into soft, quiet corners of the world, content now to watch rather than rule, the way a grandparent watches a grandchild's first, uncertain steps with patient affection rather than worry. And high above it all, the gods of Olympus settled slowly into the long, slow rhythm of watching gently over a world finally at peace. Thunder softened now to distant murmurs, the sea calmed to gentle, lapping waves, the harvest turning gold beneath a steady, patient sun, and somewhere below, countless small fires flickering warmly through the dark, each one a tiny echo of that very first borrowed flame. This is where we leave our story tonight, not with conflict, but with quiet. A young world finally settled beneath a sky full of old and watchful stars. Somewhere above you, right now, that very same sky is turning slowly, gently, just as it has for all these thousands of years. The same stars that Uranus once scattered so carefully into place. Let your breathing slow now. Let your thoughts drift, soft and unhurried, like mist over still water. And rest here, in this quiet, candle-lit corner of the ancient world, warmed by a flame as old as the very first story ever told. Sweet dreams.